The battle actually started the year after I graduated from high school. I graduated in 1979. The battle started in 1980, and it was kind of the brainchild of a couple of the advisors at that particular time, Carolyn Whitehead and Eileen Bromgard, who both taught here and were longtime advisors here. And they, along with other students, came up with this idea of having a friendly competition between the four classes. And it kind of started out as relatively informal, and then it grew over the years to start to have a cause in the community to raise money for a particular cause as part of the actual battle. So it kind of evolved over the years. It started out, I think, relatively small in just a friendly competition between the classes to kind of bring some camaraderie and some school spirit and class spirit to JHS, and then over the years it's just grown and grown. The fundraising is determined by, well, actually the last several years we've had requests. I think the community now realizes the amount of money that we've raised over the years, and so we generally get lots of requests from different causes and charities within the community, and they would like to be considered, and usually they come in and they will make a presentation to the student organization, and then the kids then will select. The members of the class councils will then sit down and then make a determination and vote on which charity gets selected this year. And what we try to do for the battle is pick a charity that's small enough, local enough that the amount of money that we raise, whether it's 10, 12,000 or more, has a huge impact on that particular organization, and try to keep it local so that amount of money will have a huge impact on that organization and our community. Well, we have records. I have records going back to the early 2000s. And so when I do the math and then I try to figure out, kind of guesstimate how much money we've raised, it's well over, I bet it's close to $250,000. And there's been 39 years. This will be the 39th year of the Battle of the Classes. So if you do the math, and roughly, it started out, it was a lot smaller back then, where it may have been only a couple $1,000s, and then of course through the mid-90s it grew, and then eventually hit over 10,000. And then our peak year, if you remember Callie's Crusade a few years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, that was a big one. We raised over $22,000, almost $23,000. So roughly, I think we're well into the $200,000 to $250,000 range total for the 39 years. There's so many of them. I think the Callie one, Callie's Crusade, of course Callie was the police officer's young daughter, a 3-year-old who had cancer and unfortunately passed away right after the battle and that year, and it was very emotional. That was a good one. That was one that the whole community, it wasn't just JHS, but the whole community, the police department, the fire department, many people in the community raised thousands of dollars for Callie, not only for Callie, but her organization, her foundation, which helps all young pediatric age, toddler age, child age kids with cancer, and some of the outrageous costs of travel and food and lodging and so forth that would help out. So that one probably sticks out the most in recent years, but some of the other ones we've raised money for. We've raised money for the local Red Cross chapter, James Prendergast Library, the Chautauqua Striders, Flight Wings of Hope, which was kind of an offshoot of Callie's Crusade. That's the local organization that actually flies children and their families to treatment centers and to hospitals. We've had just a myriad of local. This year's choice is the Jamestown City Mission, which helps homeless people. For years, Jamestown had a city mission, and then several years ago it closed its doors. Last year, a group came to the city and have put together a plan to reopen that. It is now up and running, and certainly it's a much needed cause, certainly in our community. And so this year we're going to be raising money for that. Last year was also a very emotional one, a close one for the Alex Falk Foundation. If you remember, Alex was a student at JHS several years ago who unfortunately passed away due to addiction issues. And of course in Jamestown and like other places with the problems of drug abuse and addiction running rampant in our society today, that one really hit home because, you know, Alex was one of our own, and so it was that was a meaningful cause as well. So just a myriad of different causes and organizations within the community that we've been fortunate enough to help out. Well, there's no doubt the battle is probably the high point of the year in terms of what student organization does, for two reasons. One, obviously, as we talked about, raising money for a cause in the community, and teaching our students to give back to the community, to, you know, volunteerism and raising money and helping out the needy and so forth, helping out people in need. But also, from a second standpoint, it's also a good way to get kids to feel good about their class, you know, whether they're freshmen, whether they're sophomores, juniors, seniors, and the whole school in general, to come together. And so while it's a interesting competition, it also builds up class morale as well as school morale. You know, everything from the you know, the T-shirts designs that they put out there to the different events to get kids, and again, the other mission here, get kids involved not only with their class but with their school, to work together and to have a friendly competition. And the faculty, I mean, we couldn't do it without the army of volunteers, and I think that the faculty, they get into it just as much as the kids do. And every year when I put out the call for help, you know, people come out in droves, the teachers, everything from, you know, refereeing to being judges to just being crowd control, taking tickets, selling things, you know. Everybody comes together, and it's a whole school event. I think that the timing of the year, that time of the year, it's a good thing. It's right before the spring break, the Easter break. Everyone's ready to kind of let loose, and it's a nice way to, it's usually the night before the last day for our break, so it's a good way to kind of let off some energy and steam, and then kind of sends us off for our spring break. And then when we come back, you know, it's a push to the finish. So the timing also has some meaning to it as well. So all those things together, raising money, helping out the community, and class and school spirit, all come together. Events have kind of evolved over the years as well, and they've changed. You know, each year we go through the events, and then that particular year, if they decide they want to change something, add something, subtract something, change rules, whatever, we discuss that. We're doing that right now, several weeks before, to get ready for the battle. For the most part, they've stayed the same, but we've tried different events. Sometimes they've worked, sometimes we find out they didn't work. We try to find events that on one hand are competitive, but the other hand are things that are fun to watch, that involve a lot of students, that are quick. Sometimes events take too long, and then you lose kind of the interest of the crowd as well as the students. So we kind of go through and we evaluate. After each year, we try to evaluate what worked, what didn't work, what can we change, what can we add, what can make it move smoother, better, whatever. And so each year you know, some years we don't change anything. This year I think everything has stayed the same. I don't think we've changed anything for this year, so it'll be the same as last year. But, you know, each class, each group of classes can make that decision when they have their meetings to say, hey, we'd really like to try this, or we'd like to scrap that, or change the rule here to speed this up, or do whatever. So I don't know specifically about the soccer. I think what happened there was it took too long, and they just decided that they would change that. But, you know, the other events, I mean, the staple events, we always have volleyball. The tug of war is always a favorite. The dance competition is interesting because initially there was not a dance competition. That really came in, I want to say, around the early 90s. And that's obviously become one of the most popular events, and one that people look forward to. And quite frankly, the one that's the kids work the hardest on. I mean, they start now, and they'll be practicing that, and it's 3 minutes, and they'll go through that, and that's really a huge event, and certainly a fan favorite, I guess, a spectator favorite. It was well established before I started. It'll be continued, I'm sure, afterwards. And interestingly enough, I know this year that the middle schools are planning to have kind of a mini battle here in March, 3 weeks before ours, to try to get the middle school kids interested in what we do here. And certainly I would hope that it'll continue for years to come. I think, like I said before, the main purpose is our mission, at least for student organization, whether it's penny wars or whether it's a battle, is to raise money for charity and give back to our community. And so, I'm sure it'll change over the years to some degree. Events will change and maybe the format, but I certainly hope the mission will continue, and I'm sure that the people who pick it up after I'm gone will, hopefully I've trained them well, the other advisors and younger teachers, that long after I'm gone, I can look back and see that it'll continue. So I think it's got a good future. I think it's one of those things that really, other people from other schools look at that and are impressed that we're able to raise that kind of money and have that kind of a powerful event, and it's kind of somewhat unique to Jamestown High School, and I certainly hope it continues. Many schools do similar events. They call it the battle, and everybody has their own thing. They do it. Some people do it as outdoor events, like track and field and something outside in the spring. And I don't know. Ours is unique and set up a certain way, and when we do it, how we do it, where we do it, and what we do it for. So everybody has their own unique thing, but I think it's fun to do. I've had other schools that will call and ask about, they want to know what events we do and how we do this and how we do that. So it's kind of unique and fun. 39 years is a long time, and I've been fortunate enough to be involved with most of them, starting around 1990. So I only missed maybe 9 of them. So I've been around for at least 30 of them. So it's interesting to see how it has evolved, and looking forward to it. This year, for me anyways, it's a little less stressful because I don't have a class this year, so I can just be the guy who runs the battle and not have to worry about dealing with one specific class. But it's been fun, and let's just raise the awareness, and this year's cause is another great cause for homeless in our community. So I hope the kids do well and raise the money and that's the main purpose of the event.